Welcome to Inside Athletic Training, a podcast from the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainer Society and the ultimate destination for athletic training professionals, students, and educators looking to learn more about sports medicine and athletic training. In each episode, we'll dive headfirst into conversations with experts in the field, bringing you insights, stories, and cutting-edge information about athletic training and sports medicine. This week on Inside Athletic Training, we welcome in James Edwards, the minor league medical coordinator for the Chicago Cubs. Enjoy the show. All right, James, welcome to Inside Athletic Training. Excited to have you on for episode 43. For the listeners out there, you're currently the minor league medical coordinator for the Chicago Cubs. Before we get into the details about your current role with the Cubs, let's talk a bit about yourself and your background. So let's take it back to the beginning. Talk to us a bit about where you're from, were you into sports growing up, and also how you found your passion for what you do today in athletic training.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. So I'm from a small little township, not even town. I think we had a few hundred people growing up, but right outside of Chicago. It's like an hour straight west of the city. Played football, baseball competitively through high school. I played a little bit of baseball in college. And then like a little pond hockey every once in a while growing up. But yeah, so I'm from about an hour straight west of the city. I went to Yorkville High School. And then kind of my interest in athletic training started there. So we're a small little high school, but we had a vocational center that we partnered with a bunch of the other smaller local high schools. So it's called IVIC. So it's the Indian Valley Vocational School or Vocational Center. So they actually had like a sports medicine vocational class. So for 2 or 3 hours during your junior or senior year, you'd go over there 2 or 3 times a week. And it was a nice little like almost like a prereq for college. It was a nice little prep. So they had like a nursing program. They had like auto body, things like that. But the sports med class had like prospective athletic training students, PT students, pre-med, but that's definitely where I got my interest in athletic training. And Aurora University, where I ended up going to school, they always brought somebody out every year, talked about their program, pitched the school. And my high school athletic trainer actually went to Aurora as well, and she had nothing but good things to say about the program director, and that's how I ended up choosing Aurora to go get my bachelor's in athletic training.
Yeah, that's actually really cool and quite unique, I would say, from the guests we've had on the show. I don't think we've heard of many athletic trainers in your position getting like a really quality education like that early on. And before we get into your career and what you're doing now with the Cubs, I know you mentioned you attended Aurora University getting your bachelor's degree in athletic training, Penn West to get your master's in kinesiology and exercise science. Talk a bit about your education and kind of how that shaped you as an athletic trainer overall.
Yeah. So even when I started initially at AU, I still wasn't 100% convinced I was going to be an athletic trainer. Like still had some thoughts of possibly doing PT, like even pre-med. But no, I mean, once I was accepted like formally into the athletic training program, I had a lot of good people around me, like classmates and then our program director. So at the time, the program directors were Oscar Krieger and Sarah Radke. They were and still are like fantastic advocates for the profession and like really made going to classes fun and exciting and just pumped up the profession, which definitely helps. And Oscar's one kind of thing that shaped my education. Like still, I talk about it to this day with any new hire, with any intern, but you could ask any AU grad to recite Oscar's phrase, and it was just anatomy is power. So he taught all of the evaluation classes, and it's just one like easy, simple little phrase to kind of reset you whenever you're doing an evaluation or corrective exercise. So like once you know your anatomy and you really kind of hammer that home in school, like it makes every other aspect of our job easier. So like evaluations get easier, prescribing correctives is easier, and doing treatments is easier. So No, a lot of thanks to Oscar and Sarah, great program directors, and they definitely helped me get to where I am today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a good kind of segue into my next question. Thinking back on your time at school, a lot of people have different experiences, but it seems like that anatomy focus really stuck with you. Is there anything else besides that, that you would recommend students getting into, whether that's like hands-on experience in college with different sports or looking for internships outside of the program? Anything that you would recommend looking back on your time at school that you might have done differently?
Yeah, I mean, like hindsight wasn't obviously didn't know I was going to be in pro ball and my summers would be pretty busy. So one thing I wish I would have done as a student when I had the time over the summer is go to one of the NATA conventions. Okay. Like we were able to go to the Illinois Athletic Trainers Association convention in school. But definitely one thing I would have done as a student was go to the national convention. And then, so with IATA, we actually participated in the Quiz Bowl. So one other thing I wish I would have done better is brushed up on our Glasgow Coma scale measurements. We got second place because of that question. So one other thing I wish I would have brushed up on. Yeah. But no, I mean, one thing too is like you don't have to kind of subject yourself to only learning in the classroom. So like especially now with all the podcasts available, like you can really get in depth with any aspect of pro sports, like sports medicine, performance, recovery. There's a podcast for everything now. So, yep. Yeah, definitely don't limit yourself to learning in the classroom only. And there's plenty of free continuing education courses you can take, like find a directory to the professional organization you want to get into, send some emails out. Most people are super open to letting you at least just come observe or correspond via email or hop on a phone call real quick if anybody's got any questions. But yeah, definitely like feel open to reaching out and trying to learn as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think from just talking to people in your position, one thing I've really taken away from so many of these interviews is that the textbook learning is important. Like you said before, the anatomy, learning that the baseline stuff is hugely important. But ultimately, getting different experiences, being hands-on is irreplaceable. So it's cool to hear you echo that same statement. And looking at now when you're with the Cubs organization, you've been there for a while. We'll get into kind of your path there. What biggest difference have you seen between your time working as an athletic trainer, studying at a university, compared to working in professional sports?
Yeah, man. I got pretty lucky. So my first contract with the Cubs was my first ever full-time athletic training job. So I went from an intern. I started in 2015, actually, in between my junior and senior year. Came back out after I graduated my senior year, and I was the 2016 certified intern. So really, like I've only known pro ball, but to be honest, like athletic training for the most part is athletic training. Like the job responsibilities don't really change much regardless of the setting. But I mean, obviously the main difference in pro ball is your patience can be worth millions and apparently now $700 million. So kind of one of the bigger differences compared to college. I know they've got like NIL deals now, but but no, I mean the big difference is like their bodies now, and like more specifically the pitchers, like their arms are their careers. So like obviously you have to take that into account, and like we're able to work with guys at the top of their game, which kind of forces you to like elevate every aspect of your treatment, your evaluations, your corrective programming. Like the stakes are a little higher, but again, like for the most part, being an athletic trainer doesn't really change. So like understand you're at the professional level and you need to hold yourself to kind of a professional standard, but doing evaluations, the anatomy, nothing really changes that much regardless of setting.
Yeah. And I want to get into a bit more about the Cubs and kind of your experience with them, seeing as, like you said, you've been with the club your whole career. So going back to your internship, I know it's currently hiring season. PBAT's internship program is accepting applications right now. So a lot of people who were once in the same position you were are trying to break into the game. So Finding your way in is quite difficult in sports. So talk about how you made that happen in 2016, how you landed that internship with basically your hometown Cubs, and what went into all that.
Yeah. Well, before I worked for the Cubs, I was actually a White Sox fan, so don't tell anybody. But no, I mean, it started actually in 2014. So we had a May term class at Aurora. I think it was called Advanced Strength Conditioning or close to something like that. But 1 month May term class, we spent, I think it was 3 weeks in the classroom. And then the 4th week of the class, we actually took a trip out to Colorado. So we spent 3 or 4 days in Colorado Springs. We went to the NSCA headquarters. We went to the Air Force Academy, which was awesome. They have a fantastic sports medicine, sports science program there. Mm-hmm. And then we spent the next few days in Denver, where we actually got to meet Keith Duggar, who's at the time the head athletic trainer for the Rockies. Mm-hmm. So we got a nice tour of the Rockies facility, got to sit down with him, watched a game, and that's kind of how I actually found out about PBATS. Real off kind of full circle moment though. Last week when we were at winter meetings, I finally got to meet him in person, and I told him the story, and it was cool kind of at the alumni dinner bringing that up and talking to him about my path a little bit. But so submitted my info in 2014. I thought I submitted everything correctly before the deadline, but the Cubs did not have my resume, and it didn't seem like I was in the system. So good news was my program director, Oscar. This is kind of a long-winded story, but Oscar's wife, Jill, taught Nick Frangella at OPRF high school in Chicago. So sure. Nick went into athletic training. Oscar obviously was an athletic trainer, program director at AU. They kept in touch. Nick worked his way up through the Cubs. I was going to school at Aurora. Oscar said, "Hey, I know Nick Frangella. I can send him your resume if you'd like." And I said, "Please, absolutely." So Nick was nice enough to accept my resume outside of the normal kind of PBAT submission process. So I still had to go through the whole interview process, but finally landed the non-certified internship in 2015, and I spent that whole summer in Arizona on rehab with Chuck Boffman at the time.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, and it's goes to show that there's a lot of different ways to get into baseball, and being resourceful like you and Oscar were there really paid off. So really cool to see that. Now you're working with Nick, obviously, who's the head athletic trainer with the Cubs. So super interesting story, and just kind of shows how persistent you need to be to break into the game. After you interned with the Cubs in 2016, you spent 5 years in the Cubs minor league system as an athletic trainer. Talk a bit about those stops in the minor leagues, and also about how important it is for athletic trainers to get that experience, making mistakes at the minor league level.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm super fortunate for the internship. So I had the 2 internships in 2015 and 2016. So the 2015 one was fantastic. Like, again, I was the rehab intern, so that's all I spent my time doing. Like, wasn't covering games, wasn't doing any of that type stuff, but got a ton of exposure to longer term rehabs, which was great. 2016, I worked with the AZL staff as the certified intern. So got a little taste of professional baseball. And then at the end of that 2016 season is when I got hired on full time. So 2017, I was in short season, Eugene, Oregon, which is no longer a thing now. I think they're a single A, a high A league now, but okay. Eugene was awesome. Like, and that short season was very valuable, and it was very valuable for the staff and for the players too. Like, you got a little taste of affiliated baseball, but it was a condensed season. Obviously, it was only 80 games. I think we had 2 or 3 off days maybe in those 80 games, but super valuable to at least get a taste of affiliated pro ball, and you're out on your own with your own team and your own staff. The next 2 years, 18 and 19, I moved up to Single A South Bend, so that was the Midwest League, which was cool. I was back relatively close to home, only 2 hours away from home. So I got to see some family and friends throughout the year. In the Midwest League back then, it's a solid league. So went all over, obviously, like Ohio. We went down to Bowling Green. I don't know if they're in that league anymore, but it was like Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and then a couple spots in Iowa. In 2020, I was supposed to be the AA athletic trainer in our AA affiliates right outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. But obviously that was the COVID year. So we spent the first half of that year after spring training got canceled and the world shut down like everybody else at home. But out of the blue in June, I think, we got the call like, hey, we are starting a baseball season. You need to be at the alt site in 10 days. So packed up my car, drove back out to South Bend for the third year in a row for the alt site in 2020. I tell everybody that asks about the alt site and people that have worked it, people that didn't work it, like it was pretty hard, honestly, like with all the restrictions, and it was very like Groundhog Day, same thing every single day, like wake up at 9, do the temperature checks, do the COVID testing, we do live VPs, and we were back at the apartment by 1. But it helped having a really good group. So at the time, Toby Williams was one of our athletic trainers we actually stayed in the same apartment together in South Bend for the alt site, and then Mike McNulty was our head coordinator. So those guys made it at least manageable during the alt site, and I'm glad I was able to work that year. Like a lot of people weren't able to, so at least I was able to stay fresh on my skills and work with players. But the alt site isn't something I'd really ever wish anybody has to go through. 2021, I was promoted to the assistant medical coordinator. So that was when we still only had 2 coordinators. So we had a head and assistant. The assistant's primary job duties are just running the rehab. So we send majority of our rehabbers from Chicago all the way down to the DR to Arizona to work out of our spring training facility. So 2021, I was primarily in charge of our rehab, and then since the 2022 season, I've been the minor league medical coordinator and kind of oversee all aspects of the minor league medical.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it goes to show that the time in the minor leagues, whether like you said, struggling through the alt site stuff or COVID or going to Eugene to South Bend, it's important to learn and to gain experience through those areas of your career, and it kind of prepares you for what's next. And that's what I want to get into now. Huge role with the club as a minor league medical coordinator. There's so much we'll get into, and so much you have your hands on, going up and down to affiliates, to the big league club, and PJ and Nick and all that good stuff. When you got the job and moved up, which is quite quick compared to a lot of people, were you nervous about taking on such a huge role? I mean, I know you probably were because you care about the role and it's important to you. I guess the better question is, did you feel ready to step into that role, which is so important for the club?
Yeah, no, I mean, the COVID year was weird for everybody. I mean, it caused kind of a lot of movement throughout every organization. So yeah, my progression wasn't exactly normal by any means, but everyone's path to get where they are is unique, and my situation is kind of no different than that. But with the role, yeah, I mean, I thought I was ready for the assistant coordinator job, at least. Like I knew what it entailed for the most part, but might have not been completely aware of all the new things I'd be asked to do, like especially during the COVID time when we were still testing and the restrictions were pretty heavy. But in 21, the assistant coordinator role, it was definitely a good step because it doesn't require all the responsibilities the head medical coordinator comes with. So our head coordinator at the time did a really good job kind of easing me into the position and helping me with anything I needed. Didn't put too much on my plate, like let me make some mistakes, but it was nice to really only be responsible for the rehabbers and not have to worry about everything else going on at the minor league affiliates. But yeah, I think it was important for me to be the assistant, and I still think it's important for me to be the coordinator. I don't necessarily think everybody has to be a coordinator, but with my timeline kind of being as quick as it was, it's been extremely helpful for me and going forward in the future. Like there's not going to be really any reason for me to think I didn't need to be a coordinator. So it's been valuable for sure.
Mm-hmm. And many of our listeners are athletic training students, like I said before, trying to get into baseball, trying to eventually be in a position you're in, making moves up within an organization. So let's get into more about the life of a minor league medical coordinator. I know a lot of people know what Nick Frangella might do or PJ Mainville, but coordinator role might be a little less glamorous, I guess you could say, from the outside. So to start, talk a bit about your main duties and responsibilities as a minor league medical coordinator during the season.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you kind of talk to people that they're maybe casual baseball fans, don't really understand like how in depth the minor leagues are. It's kind of shocking that you say, yeah, we've got 150 plus minor league players like itching to get to the big leagues. But yeah, so in season, which is April through September at the minor league level, I'm pretty much kind of on call 24/7. I mean, nobody's calling me unless it's really an emergency at 2 a.m. But since we're in Arizona, my day usually starts from a call or a text at 6:30, 7 a.m. from one of our affiliate athletic trainers or somebody on the Chicago staff or team physicians. 3 of our 4 affiliates are on the East Coast time, so they're 3 hours ahead of where we're at in Arizona. So they're already up and going by the time I'm rolling out of bed. So, and that's really just making sure appointments for the day are good to go. Injured affiliate players have a plan and they're ready to go for their day. And I'm talking to the affiliate athletic trainers, and that's before I even get to our spring training complex at roughly 11 a.m. So once I get to the field, I'll try and take care of any like administrative type things I need to, which can be anything from like coordinating player surgeries, travel with our ops department, coordinating outside PT if we're outsource something, rehab player moves, things like that. So players will start rolling in during the season around 12:30-ish, and then I'll work with our rehab group. I throw almost every day still with the rehab group. And then I'm available for our AZL staff with whatever they might need, if it's covering a bullpen real quick, doing some treatments on a guy.
Sure.
And then I'll head home, have dinner, and then my day in season, usually it ends after I send out the nightly injury report. So each affiliate athletic trainer will send me their injury report. I compile that in our system, and then I send that out to front office coordinators, people that need to know about the injuries. And that usually ends around 9:30, 10 p.m. maybe if we're lucky and the game doesn't get pushed in Arizona. So, yeah, in season, it's long days for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I know we were all just at winter meetings in Nashville together. PBATS members were together and catching up and things of that nature in the off season. And I want to hear a little bit about that. So the season is clearly 24/7, absolutely crazy for you guys and people in your position. What about the off season when that season ends and everything gets wrapped up, the World Series champion is crowned? What do you guys kind of shift in terms of your duties and responsibilities throughout the club?
Yeah, there's the old adage in pro ball, there's no off days, just days without games. So like a little cheesy joke, but like there's definitely some truth to it. I mean, for the most part, there aren't games outside of maybe like a few inter squad or instructional camp games with kind of some local teams like closer to us, like the A's, the D-backs are close, the Angels. But we usually tend to run some sort of camp, anywhere from 30 to 60 dependent players throughout the off season. So obviously outside of this year. So this year we had a dead period for the first time for the minor league players since they unionized. So before Thanksgiving until I think it's January 2nd, there's a dead period where we can't really host camp. So it's actually been kind of nice. We've only got a few roster players here and then a couple of rehab guys at the complex now. But prior to the dead period, it was still, we're coming in Monday through Friday for the most part. The hours are a lot shorter. It's maybe 7:30 to noon at the latest. But no, we're still in the complex. Guys are still coming in, working out, throwing, hitting. They're doing treatments. We're doing movement screens. We're doing corrective exercise. But the days are definitely shorter. It's not as quick as the season is, but we're still going into the complex Monday through Friday almost every week throughout the off season.
Mm-hmm. And that gets me to my next point. We've had a lot of coordinators on the show, to name a few: Corey Tremble, who was formerly with the Tigers; Joel Harris with the Red Sox; Scott Stansberry with the Orioles; and also Nick Jensen with the Milwaukee Brewers, just to name a couple. These guys have all talked about the crazy demand and lack of, I guess you'd call it, work-life balance that comes with being in your position. But a lot of them, have said you really have to love what you do to be successful in this role. How do you feel about the quote unquote lack of work-life balance or just the grind that comes with being a coordinator?
Yeah. I don't think we need to put lack of work-life balance in quotes. There's some truth to it, but no, I mean, that's 100% true. Like, you have to love this job. You have to love pro ball to stay in this job. Otherwise you kind of tend to burn out, or the job will just eat at you. But, it's hard to have a true work-life balance in pro sports, and especially in a role like a coordinator. But no, my wife Natalie, she's been great, and we've been together since I started in pro ball, so she definitely understands the demands of the positions and the different affiliate levels, which definitely helps. We've also got a 1-year-old girl now, so it's been great, but certainly challenging trying to find time during the season. But
sure.
I mean, whenever you do have time to either get out of the complex, go do something for a day, have a dinner, whatever it may be, like you take it and you enjoy it. But you have to love the role, and it definitely helps when you do love what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And, people in your position, there's so much you guys give to the club. Obviously the hours to start, but there's a ton of responsibility on your shoulders. Like I said before, you go up and down, meet with people at all levels, not just, an athletic trainer at one facility or with one affiliate. So when you're going through each day, as someone in your position, is there one piece of your job right now that you really enjoy and get the most fulfillment from?
Yeah, I think this part hasn't really changed since I've moved up as an affiliate athletic trainer, or even through a coordinator. But like, by far the most rewarding part of my job that I enjoy the most is seeing players come back and perform after they get injured or have a surgery. And that's more true, especially when they make their debut in Wrigley after we've worked with them for anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half to 2 years rehabbing and getting them back healthy. But that's by far the thing I enjoy the most about my job, is seeing guys come back and perform.
Yeah, I think we've heard from a lot of people, from, Ryan DePanflo, head athletic trainer with the Diamondbacks, to yourself, to people in all positions, getting guys back on the field where they belong, healthy, is really something that a lot of you guys get fulfillment from. And I guess it just goes to show, this is a job where you serve others, and that's a hugely important characteristic. Another characteristic that's important is communication. You're managing such a huge role with the Cubs organization. You have your hands on the pulse of all the affiliates up to the big league level. Talk about communication a little bit here, and what it's like communicating both ways, up and down, up to Nick and PJ at the top, down to different affiliates. How do you go about that, and kind of managing how much you're communicating with everybody in the organization?
Yeah, especially like the role I'm in. I talk to at least someone on the major league staff almost every single day, whether that's Nick or PJ. There's usually a player move, a rehab update, or kind of general question on a player that we'll have to discuss every day. With our coordinator group down here in Arizona, we've got myself, Sean Folan, Jeremy Clipperton, and Logan Nordquist. So we kind of head all the rehab. So we all have to be on the same page. So what we end up doing is, normally in the mornings, like, we'll meet, go over the plan for the day, who's got what, upcoming appointments, upcoming imaging, guys we might need to modify. And that's also with our rehab strength conditioning coach, our rehab pitching coach, our rehab position player coach. And then kind of same thing at the affiliates. Like, they all meet pre and post for the day. I'm available to provide any answers they need regarding correctives, progressions, things like that. But yeah, I mean, I always tell everybody that's either new to an affiliate or relatively young, like, even though you are on an island or feel like you're by yourself, like, do not feel like you're on an island. Like, I'm always available, phone call away. I'm one flight away if I really need to come out there. But yeah, I mean, it's just hyper communication and making sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. And shifting gears a bit to when you were coming up again, like we talked about, we'll get into some of the role models and people you work with at the Cubs, like PJ and Nick and people we've mentioned. When you were coming up, through college, maybe someone in your first year in the big leagues or, in professional baseball, any key role models you looked up to that really helped you understand how professional baseball and athletic training works?
Yeah, more so before I got into pro ball. So already mentioned him, but Oscar Krieger, who's my program director at AU, talked about his classes a little bit, but like every day walking into his classes, talking about anything ever related to the profession, like you knew he was super passionate about athletic training, and it was just an incredible opportunity to be able to take classes with him. It's great. So he's no longer the program director there. He's retired, but we still keep in touch and meet up with him and his wife, Jill, at least once a year. So they have a place in Arizona actually and end up coming out for spring training. So Nick and his wife, Alyssa, my wife, Natalie, and Oscar and Jill will usually meet up for dinner at some point during spring training. So it's awesome to stay in touch with Oscar. One of my preceptors at Aurora, he's now the head athletic trainer over there, Jeff Probst. He was just fantastic about letting me learn and letting me help with my practical skills. He was great about just letting me do my thing. Like he trusted that I was an athletic training student and kind of gave me the reins of the sports we were working with, whether it was women's soccer, men's lacrosse. Yeah, so Jeff was great about just treating me almost like a coworker, not a student. And then one other preceptor I had at Aurora, Jim Ferguson. So Marmion High School is a little private high school that we contracted out through and did some clinical hours at. So same kind of boat as Jeff, but Jim was great about just trusting that I knew what I was doing as a student and kind of let me be an athletic trainer while I was still a non-certified student. But those three for sure definitely helped me get better clinically, and that helped stepping right into pro ball.
Yeah, now looking at your career so far with the Cubs, there's been an awesome opportunity to work and learn under, PJ Mainville, someone who pretty iconic in athletic training at this point. Started with the Diamondbacks and worked under Ken Crenshaw and now been with the Cubs for quite a while. Talk about what it's like learning from PJ, working with him as he's been so successful in the big leagues and kind of what he's meant to you and your career and your knowledge as an athletic trainer.
Yeah. PJ's great. So he's either been the head athletic trainer or more recently, like the director of medical services since I joined the Cubs. So it's always nice to kind of have some continuity, especially at the major league level when you're coming up through an organization. So he's been great about like providing all of the continuing education we're able to take as a staff, whether that's through like a third party course or seminar or just during spring training as like a staff only in service. But no, I mean, having him as a resource for any decision-making purposes or just being available to bounce ideas off of has been great.
And looking back on your time, learning from your mentors, learning from PJ and Nick on the staff, students are coming up. Is there any advice or your best piece of advice that you might provide now that you have so much insight working in pro ball?
Yeah. One thing that certainly helps is just like be hungry, like really, really show that you at least want to get your foot in the door. You don't have to be the best candidate clinically. You don't have to have a perfect GPA. Like obviously that helps, but like realistically, as long as you truly want to be in pro ball and can kind of show your passion during an interview, like somebody's going to take a chance. So Already touched on it a little bit, but like take a free Con Ed course if you can't afford a class. Like pick the brain of somebody local. Like go just talk to people. Go to conventions when you can, and like just really show that you want to get better. But yeah, I mean, go out of your way to make yourself a better clinician and really just be passionate for the profession, and somebody's going to take a chance, and then you do your thing from there. But yeah, I mean, show that you want it.
Yeah, definitely a common theme among you and your colleagues across PBATS is being persistent, hungry, and just going to get it is super important, and just being resourceful in that matter. So cool to hear you echo that statement as well. Lastly, I know you work with a ton of awesome athletic trainers who we've mentioned, PJ and Nick, a bunch of times today. But I want to give you a couple minutes to share the names and mention the people within the Cubs organization who you get to work with every day and make your job easier.
Yeah, this might take a minute. So top to bottom, not because I am the coordinator, not because I've only been with the Cubs throughout my entire career, but we 100% have the best minor league medical staff in all of baseball. So, I mean, it's a pleasure to be able to work with the following people, and throughout my career, they've obviously made my job 1,000 times easier and continue to do that every day. I don't know what your post-production budget or music licensing looks like, but you could probably hold the 1990s Bulls intro music. So feel free. So in AAA, with over 10 years in the show, 2016 World Series champion, and the best beard in all of professional baseball, Ed Halber. Our other AAA athletic trainer, so we started a year apart in the organization, moved up together. He's a fantastic coworker, solid golfer, and an unmatched head of hair, Logan Severson. From North Carolina, big Tar Heel fan, not a fan of Duke, but he's a big pool shark, our AA athletic trainer, Seth Clapp. Next is our high A athletic trainer, Florida State alumni, but for some reason he is also a big snowboarder, even though he grew up in Florida, Nick Roberts. In low A Myrtle Beach, she was my intern twice before getting hired on full time. I had to convince her to not take an NCAA job after she finished her GA position at UNC, Maggie Lowenhar. Holding it down in the AZL, we've got Tanner Costine and Hunter Martin. Both are fantastic. Our Latin American medical staff consists of Leroy Martinez, who has single-handedly kept the medical side of the DR running like a Lamborghini the last 3 years. But he is a Carolina Panthers fan, unfortunately. So, and then our two recent new additions to the DR, Chad Rodriguez and Lupe Segovia, have both been fantastic. So I mentioned them earlier. The other three people that make my job much easier are our assistant coordinator, Sean Folan. He primarily oversees rehab, but has been with the Cubs since I started and is a fantastic resource to have. Jeremy Clipperton is another assistant coordinator we have down here. He brings 7 years of big league experience to our minor league staff. And Logan Nordquist, who is the first ever minor league physical therapist within the Chicago Cubs organization. So can't stress it enough. Like I could not do my job without the help from all these people I just listed. And I hope it kind of helps people listening that previously didn't realize like how many people were involved in the medical aspect of the minor leagues. But I certainly couldn't do my job well without all those people.
And for anyone that hasn't met, I know you're joking, met Logan Severson, do a quick Google and you will see some of the best hair in baseball. No doubt about that. But in all seriousness, the people you mentioned, including yourself and from top to bottom, just awesome staff with the Cubs. And those are the future athletic trainers at the big league level and across the league. So it's really, really cool to hear you talk glowingly about them. Well, to wrap up today's episode, James, we're going to finish with a quick Q&A segment we call Extra Bases. So I'm going to ask you 4 quick questions and let you share some insight about yourself and your favorite things about baseball and athletic training. So we'll kick it off at first base. You've made a handful of stops that we talked about on the way to your current role with the Cubs. What was your favorite athletic training room to work in along the way?
Yeah, probably because I ended up spending 3 years there, but by far the South Bend athletic training room. So that front office over there, it's Joe Hart and Nick Brown. they treated us like we were in the major leagues, and that facility kind of goes above and beyond anything in single A baseball. And I mean, it's better than some double A and triple A athletic training rooms. So by far that South Bend athletic training room was my favorite throughout the minor leagues.
Mm-hmm. And moving on to second base, I always say whether you're in the big leagues or the minor leagues, you guys have the best view for a game outside of just the players and the managers. So it's a very unique situation there. When you were in the dugout every day with Cubs, what was your favorite baseball stadium to watch a game from the dugout?
Yeah, so fortunately, like our major league staff brings us up to Wrigley towards the end of the year every year. So I've been able to work a game from the dugout in Wrigley, which I don't think can be matched. But throughout the minor leagues, a lot of the Northwest League stadiums and cities are great. I think it's Nat Bailey Stadium in Vancouver. That place was awesome. Like it's just a classic minor league baseball stadium, like big wooden walls, huge kind of grandstand seating behind home plate. Definitely one of my most fun experiences was at Vancouver. Like, so we played the Canadians there on Canada Day, actually. So like it was a day game on Canada Day in Vancouver, just like absolutely electric atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then in the Midwest League too. So when we traveled to Kane County, it was awesome to work those games. So Kane County is 30 minutes from where I grew up. Like I went there as a kid in the stands when they were an affiliate for the Marlins. So I got to see some guys like Josh Beckett, Dontrell Willis, and growing up as a kid. And then years later, I was working games in the dugout when Kane County was a D-backs affiliate. So probably those three for sure.
Yeah, super cool memories there, and also some great name drops in the Dontrell Willis, Josh Beckett. Moving on to third base here. You guys, cover so many cities, whether that's in the minor leagues or big leagues. What's your favorite city you either worked in or visited on the road while being an athletic trainer?
Yeah, again, like some of those Northwest cities, Northwest League cities were awesome. So like you go all over the place, like Boise, Spokane. Eugene's a fantastic city to be in. But I would say probably Vancouver, just with the stadium itself, and then Vancouver, it's fantastic. So like fantastic food, fun little nightlife, like awesome city. So, played a few series there, went day game into night game. So we got to kind of experience Vancouver a little bit, but no, I definitely want to go back and kind of vacation there a little bit, but Vancouver was awesome.
Yeah. And to wrap it up, James, the home plate question for today, everybody gets in either the big leagues or minor leagues or coordinator position, and it's different. It's a huge change. You realize, hey, I'm in professional baseball now. During your time with the Cubs, did you ever have a welcome to pro ball moment?
Yeah. There's plenty of kind of welcome to pro ball moments I still get to this day, but a couple of them, like first time I was able to go into Wrigley as a minor league athletic trainer and kind of walk up the dugout and just see Wrigley bare bones was unbelievable. Like it's hard to put into words like what that place looks like without fans, and then with whatever 45,000 people or however many it can fit. And then kind of like what I touched on earlier, like seeing somebody that had like a rough go of it and had some significant surgery or surgeries and not supposed to play a season and getting them back healthy and seeing them make their major league debut is something that it's hard to put into words. So we had a situation this year where same kind of thing. So a guy wasn't supposed to play this season, just going to rehab, get healthy, get ready for 25. Made it back a little earlier than we thought, and ended up making his major league debut and hit a grand slam at Wrigley. Other cool thing about that was Sean, our assistant coordinator, was up in Wrigley at the time covering the game. So he was able to work with him for whatever it was, 10 months, and he was able to be in the dugout after he made his debut and hit a grand slam. So like things like that are why we do this, and it's hard to put into words what that feels like.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like you said, that's why you do the job, serving others, getting players healthy and back on the field to have success. So really awesome story there. Well, James, thanks so much for joining the show today. We really appreciate your time, your dedication to PBATS and the profession of athletic training, and we hope to have you on again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. This was great. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Inside Athletic Training. We hope you've gained valuable insights, inspiration, and knowledge to fuel your athletic training journey. If you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite platform. And also, stay connected with us on pbats.com for more news about athletic training and sports medicine.